If you've watched my recent videos, I've been testing the Sony a7CR, and I've also used the Sony a7R5 most recently, among other Sony cameras. I even had an a7 III back in the day. Based on my recent usage of those cameras, I made a video about 5 things that Sony could do in terms of hardware to improve the user experience and just overall enjoyability of using Sony cameras. Since making that video and using the cameras a little bit more, I've also thought of 5 things that Sony could do in terms of software to also improve the usability and enjoyability of their cameras, beyond just saying that their menu system is still really complicated. My first suggestion to Sony in terms of software is to add Highlight Blinkies to the photography settings in the camera. Sony does allow you to use zebras for highlight monitoring in both photography and video settings, modes. However, I think that for photography, you really need Highlight Blinkies to monitor highlights properly and to have the best results in photography, like Leica and Fuji do. So that's my first suggestion, add Highlight Blinkies. My second suggestion to Sony in terms of software is to allow their distance scale to be shown in feet. It blows my mind that you can only see the distance scale in meters. I'm sure Sony could write the 3 lines of code necessary to make this change. The third thing that I'd like to see Sony change in terms of software is the shifting of the information display on the screen when you turn the camera. On Sony cameras, the information is always on the horizontal bottom part of the screen. So when you're shooting vertically, the information is still here and you have to do this with your head to read it all. I don't understand why the information doesn't shift to the bottom of the screen, so when you're vertical on the shorter end of the screen, it still reads right side up and it's easy to read. You don't have to tilt your head. I know that Fuji and I believe several other manufacturers have this feature, and I don't understand why Sony doesn't have it as an option that you could turn. I don't understand why Sony doesn't have an option, or at least one that you could turn on and off. The fourth option that I wish Sony had is the level. You have to scroll through the different display options to show the level. You can't choose or check a box to have the level shown across different screen display options. So if you don't like the combination of icons and information that the camera is showing with the display level on, there's no way to change that. I can't believe in Sony cameras that are otherwise so customizable that they don't have this option. The fifth thing I would like to see with Sony cameras is that when you zoom in for manual focus, that if you tap the shutter button, it would jump all the way back out, instead of having to tap through, going tap, tap, tap to get through the different distances for the focus zoom. This one is sort of really a bonus one. It's not that big of a deal to me. But my other fifth one had been to add frame lines so you could do vertical shooting. But Sony actually came out with that option, unfortunately as a paid option. So that can't really be on my list because they've done it. So beyond these 5 and the usual Sony gripe about menus being complex, what would your 5 improvements to Sony software be? Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one.